Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, if this is your first time listening to the Win with Dice podcast, this podcast is all about tabletop RPGs, running them, playing them. Calvin and I like to take a casual approach to GMing and the hobby in general, and in this podcast we just kind of talk about our games, the ones that we play in, the ones that we run, and so you can see and learn from us and all of our friends about how to be a GM, and it's not that hard. So hopefully after listening to this podcast you want to jump on the other side of the screen, or you're entertained enough by our goofy stories. That would also make us happy.
Yes, that also works too. Of course, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to talk about, it's like game systems and anything like that, just drop a comment below or hit us up on Twitter and we'll be sure to cycle you into the usual topics that we talk about. We do have a Pathfinder recap to talk about today, as well as a recently released playtest that we wanted to just touch on a bit, and then see if people are interested in us going into more details and that sort of thing. But before we get into all of that, we have to get to the most important part of the show, which is the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week.
Yes, the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week, brought to you by Calvin once again. Thanks, Calvin.
Indeed. This was just something that came up in Tim's recent game. And it was just that, sometimes the players need a bit of a nudge to get going in a certain direction. It's easy to kind of spin your wheels a bit when you don't know if there's like a specific thing you have to deal with or a specific task that needs to be like done at the moment, and you're trying to figure out like what direction you should start going in. But sometimes if you as the GM need to swoop in and have someone say, oh hey, there's an interesting thing that way, why don't you go that way? Even if it's a bit blunt, sometimes it's enough to get the ball rolling, because sometimes often you want to have the players do that sort of thing, and occasionally in a group you have that player who will be the one that presses the big red button. But for those rare moments where it feels like you're just going in circles, I don't think there's anything really wrong with just having someone come in and say, and not so bluntly, we could discuss the details more when we actually get into the campaign recap, but just something that's like, hey, there's a goal over here, or something that you should be aware of over here, or something that you might be interested in over here, just to give a bit more of a reason and a nudge to be like, oh hey, maybe we should go over there, and then things will snowball and continue as you reach that point.
Yeah, it's different when in like a video game or something where the game itself can tell you exactly where you need to go, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh hey, there's a thing you need to go do over here. It's harder when in tabletop RPGs, especially because there's so much going on, and the GM has to try and direct the party to where the plot is, but also not railroad them at the same time. It's a lot of like brain ninjaing sometimes. It could get a little complicated, but yeah, a lot of times I do flat out tell my players to just like, oh, by the way, you need to go do this. this is what needs to be done. Right? Because in context, I think their characters could figure it out because they're seasoned adventurers, but sometimes you just get wrapped up into like, oh, what are we doing again, or whatever, right? So
yeah, it could be like, what are we doing, or like everybody has a thing they kind of want to do, but no one wants to be the one to make the decision. So
yeah, it's tough without a team leader. A good thing to do is to have like an NPC team leader, like the boss, like the direct command, where like if an order goes out from this person, it means do the thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Alan. There you go, folks. There's your Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week.
Ooh. All right, well, let's get into the episode today. So, up first, there was a bunch of new stuff that came out of Paizo from GenCon, and this is also a new thing we wanted to do. I wanted to talk about this class playtest just a little bit. I wanted to put that out there, and if people were interested in more detail, we could go into more detail with it. But I did want to mention there was a bunch of news from them, including Kingmaker stuff. Kingmaker being the Pathfinder game, like digital game. There's a bunch of new Kingmaker stuff, like a bestiary and companions and a kingdom management rule system. as well as some new stuff coming from Starfinder with their whole Drift Crisis storyline, where the Drift, which is like their multi-dimensional faster-than-light travel system, is going through a bit of a chaotic situation, and they put out notes on how like you can modify the already published adventure paths to deal with that, as well as upcoming adventures that will deal with those things more directly. And one certain adventure, which is like Galarian World, which is basically an amusement park in Starfinder that's based on like notes of old Galarian, which obviously in Starfinder lore disappeared.
Oh, nice. I hope there's like, mascots of like Galarian stuff. like
Very
just,
much is. The tease for this was pretty mean. It was kind of like, it was a bunch of Starfinder characters meeting a Pathfinder character in an image, and then you zoom out and then you see it's in like a fair.
Nice. That's pretty funny. That's actually kind of exciting to just like, meme Galarian being LOL. This was important at one time.
Yes, pretty much. There was some cool stuff there. Again, if news is something people want us to cover, then we'll definitely do that. But I did want to talk about the Kineticist class a bit. And I also wanted to ask Ramon if you played a Kineticist in first edition at all.
Kineticist is the psychic, the psionics, right? If I remember.
It's
like remember.
It's basically Avatar. It's pretty much like you channel an element, and it's pretty much like a monk with a bit of a, not so much a caster. I mean, like you cast quote unquote spells. They're not exactly spells, but you're a monk that can do magic with your hands.
Right. So you just like, cast fists with fire, essentially, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, cool. So you're like bending the elements. I didn't know it was called a Kineticist. Obviously, I've never played one or really read into one from first edition, but that sounds pretty cool. I always think that like the monks always go through like the two strains. Like, either you want to be Bruce Lee or you want to be Avatar.
Yeah.
or basically you want to be Goku, which is kind of like both, but like instead of like energy, it's like the ki blasts and charging up. I wonder if they'll implement that. We'll see. Colin, tell me about it.
Well, as described, the Kineticist, essentially the way it works. Currently, there's 4 different elements you can use. You have your water, earth, fire, air.
Okay.
Not necessarily in that order.
Oh, okay.
But you can channel those into your attacks and your actions. Essentially, how it works is you have like this connection, this conduit to an elemental plane. And at the beginning, or at first level rather, you can choose how it connects to you. And that determines like how many elements you have access to, as well as how much things you can do with them at first level. So you can either connect to like one elemental plane and then get 3 abilities you can do things with that. You can connect to 2 and then get 2 abilities, 1 from each, or you can connect to 3 and you only get 1 ability, but you can change that ability per day, depending on what you qualify for.
Oh, okay, cool. Is there like a way to get an additional, like get to bend all 4 elements? Like that's what I want to do.
Well, essentially, yes. Then you would have to be there's dedicated. Essentially, they're called gates. Those connections to the planes. So there's dedicated gate, which is to 1. Dual gate is to 2, and then universal is to all elemental planes.
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool, actually. I like the flexibility because it definitely kind of, I'm sure when they were designing it, they were like, this must be the fantasy like everybody wants, right?
Pretty
it's like
much.
They want to be the Avatar. So
yeah,
that it sounds like they might have done it.
Yeah, like me personally, I was kind of torn because like I do like having themed characters. So I would be like, oh, well, I want 3 abilities and 1 type of element, but maybe I want to do all of them. Then you can only get 1 ability. But that's just at first level. Obviously, as you level up, you would get more. They essentially function as feats, how they apply to normal Pathfinder classes. So every second level, you get another feat, and with that, you can choose to get another elemental ability. They all have tags and everything, like the normal Pathfinder tags. So there's the air tag, the water tag, the earth and fire tag. and whether you can use those depends on what actual planes you're connected to.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
Cool.
there's yep.
I'm assuming that there's like actions, right? Some of them are attacks, some of them are like
summon
this rock.
Yeah, so there's a fire one that's obviously an attack. There's also like one you can have like a torch. There's an air one that I think is basically Featherfall, if I recall my quick glance at it. It's like a reaction you can use on someone who's falling to cushion their fall.
Okay, cool.
And you also, like the basic thing every one of them gets, you get a couple of basic actions, one being Gather Element, which is you pretty much summon elemental energy, and you need to do that in order to actually use your abilities. Pretty much it's like Rage for a Barbarian, like you need to take an action to set up your class functions in combat.
Oh man, you gotta go Super Saiyan? Oh man.
Pretty
You gotta
much.
be like, boom.
Yeah,
Air
you
goes up. Sick. Sick.
It might expand more as you level up. I know around, I think, 3rd level, you can start to gather elements from within the world itself, including from like elemental enemies. So if you're fighting like a fire elemental, you can gather your fire energy from that and it'll take some damage.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, I like that.
One of the other basic abilities all types of kineticists get is an elemental blast, which do different types of damage depending on which element you're connected to. Some of them do more damage, but some of them are also agile, so you get a better attack roll if you keep using it. And they all also have their own different ranges, different like other tags and traits as well.
Oh, cool. So it becomes its own weapon onto itself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Yep.
I have a feeling that if I ever make a new character in a Pathfinder game, I'm gonna do this. This sounds awesome, and like exactly what I want. I definitely want to be Toph Beifong.
Yes, because Earthbender is best bender. Thank you.
Yeah. the queen herself. Like, definitely want to channel that kind of energy. So, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, if people are interested in this sort of thing, we can go into more details with it. I did want to try building a character, but like it came out like a few hours ago, time of recording. The Paizo site was down for a bit, so I had to like go searching for a link. I managed to find one on the Pathfinder Discord. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting class. I definitely want to check it out because I really like themed abilities and that sort of thing. Yeah, and there's like abilities to like adapt elements. So you can like if you have earth, you can sculpt earth. You can regulate air and water around a person. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do.
Nice. I'm glad they add like some utility into it as well instead of just like the flashy magics. But yeah, if you want us to do like a deep dive into this, release, let us know in the comments, and we'll do it, I guess.
Yeah, I will probably try to make a couple of characters. I think I'll try to do like a focused one and then like a more universal one, and then see what they are like. Obviously, there's not like path builder or anything yet, so I gotta like put some legwork in. But
oh man, get the pen and paper out. Jeez.
yeesh, like a caveman.
Yeah, we could do, if you guys want, we could do a deep dive in it and kind of like maybe just make a couple of characters, highlight some things we think are super cool and flavorful, maybe some things we don't like about it, and give like a more structured opinion about it.
Yeah, I want to see how versatile those abilities can be when you're like doing all the elements.
Yeah, maybe we can do like a perspective of like from the GM, what does this character mean to you, right? Like what can you parse from like his I am the avatar-ness.
All right, but that's something to look forward to or to look into, depending on what people want to know. But let's get into this game recap as we're hopping into the sequel to the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which was the Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign that our friend Tim ran for us, converted into Pathfinder 2e. We switched over to Foundry, the best virtual tabletop, bar none, no discussion, thanks. And we are hopping into what is titled as Campaign 2, Unintended Consequences.
Ooh. Shit.
I'm sure there's something we did that's gonna come back and bite us in the butt, but I'm sure whatever it is, we'll have to deal with it. But yeah, we picked up sometime, well, like a few days, we had a few days of rest in the town of Phandelver, pretty much after we dealt with the Lost Mine of Phandelver itself, the Wave Echo Cave, and we managed to root out this literal giant spider that was sort of like causing trouble in town, had some connections to the mine itself that Gunnar Rockseeker and his brothers had wanted our help in sort of uncovering. Well, Gunnar and his assistant Sildar, who has pretty much taken over as the, not literal mayor, but basically the mayor. So yeah, in the few days we were there, obviously, when Ramon is around, his character Silrona is there, but when Ramon can't make it for a game, Silrona is teleported to the cowboy dimension. And we have to carry around a horseshoe that he teleports in from.
I'm so sad I missed that session. It's the problems with real life scheduling and forgetting what plans you've made.
Yeah.
While you're like elbow deep in painting your house.
Fortunately, though, you can. I'll see if I can post some of these Discord memes that ended up in our chat. I'll see if I can put some of them in the episode, because there was some very fun stuff there, as well as a picture of the adventuring party. Ramon, I don't know if you've checked it out in the Discord yet.
Oh man, I'm gonna look at it right now.
I'll flash it on screen as well. But yeah, so we spent some time there. Teeks was helping to patch up Kavo, our barbarian. So Teeks is like a changeling druid. Kavo is our half-orc barbarian. There's also Phalum, the human fighter, and Bren, human ranger, who is, I believe, taking a fighter dedication because Bren has been solving everything with his fists.
Monk, I think. Monk.
Oh, monk? Okay. So yeah, Bren, that is what Bren is up to. So Teeks was helping patch up Kavo after that last battle. As well, we checked in with a local person by the name of Sister Gorel, who was part of a larger order of people who try to keep tabs on pretty much corruption in politics. She had some suspicions about the mayor, but it seems like he's on the right track now that Sildar is around and pretty much bossing him about. But Gorel did hear some information about a lighthouse along the coast that Teeks was very interested in, because it's possible she has some connections to a lighthouse, and there was a certain place that she wanted to go. But while we were in town, Phalum was also able to get an ogre hook that he found and attach it to a chain, so he's got this really cool weapon now. And Bren had mentioned wanting to visit his family, who are sort of up north. We're using the, oh gosh, I forget what it's called in D&D terms, but we're using the map that's near like the Sword Coast, near Neverwinter. I'm sure D&D people know it more so than I do off the top of my head. But yeah, his family is near a place called Mount Hotenau, which is pretty close to another place called Luskin, which is where Teeks also wanted to go. Kavo had to make some communications with his clan, which are way further south near the Cloud Peaks, but he already sent a message off to them. So this is pretty much the moment where we were... Oh, also Phalum wanted to go looking for some of his missing shipmates who would likely be along the coast. So this was sort of the moment where like some of us had like specific small things we wanted to do, but they didn't seem worth dragging the whole party to. So it was kind of at this point where Gunnar showed up, and he wanted us to deliver an ore sample to Neverwinter, like a sample of the newly mined ore from the Wave Echo Cave, to bring it up to Neverwinter to talk to an elf that we met before. This was the guy who had first assigned Bren and Teeks to the quest that started everything. And we were just to bring it up there to show it to him, to let him show it off to actual investors and suppliers and things like that. Some of the refined and unrefined ore, as well as diagrams, schematics, that sort of thing. Which is pretty much a nudge to get us going northwards to the city of Neverwinter.
Nice. It's like, go here, do this. I'm the boss. Damn party. Always lollygagging around.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of it was like a push versus a thing that Tim had already had planned. but it was certainly enough to get us going.
He's like, just in case these idiots stick around.
Something to light a fire underneath them. So yeah, being extra cautious, we did get some cloth and some produce like apples and pumpkins to put on top of the ore, just so it wasn't obvious that we were carrying like valuable rocks. And we had some plans to try and sell some of that stuff for a profit when we got into town.
Nice.
We talked about like the best way to travel, whether we should have like one person resting on the cart and then just keep going nonstop, but we decided to stop each night to get some proper rest. And then this is when we got into some cool stuff with Foundry, because we moved on to a map that for most of us was completely blank. There.
That explains all of the posts in Discord.
Yes, indeed. I don't know if I can put this on YouTube. I'll put it there very briefly. But essentially in Foundry, if you're in a dark area, like the lighting is dark, and you walk around, your character will remember like the spaces they saw. They won't remember like they won't be able to see people who are there if they move away from it. But like they can remember, oh, there was rock here or grass here or whatever. So,
oh my god, you guys probably like stumble through because everybody's a human.
pretty much. So Ren kind of wandered around in what Teeks assumed was a very complex ranger pattern to understand his environment. However, it turned out that Kavo was able to see, because I believe he has like low light vision or something like that. Or dark vision, perhaps. But Kavo was able to see, so there was a bit of confusion, because Corey, Kavo's player, was like, he was able to see the map, but none of us could. And then that's when I realized what was actually going on, because I didn't know what the situation was, like, because I could only see myself.
Yeah.
But eventually, Teeks was able to light up a torch. And this is when things got really spicy, because Kavo was able to see some undead coming in.
Oh, no.
There was also a bit of before the torch was lit, there was a bit of an incident where Fallon bumped into the horse and then tried to calm it down with Bren's help, but neither of them were able to calm it, especially as the undead were coming in. But yeah, this was, so pretty much the way the battle ended up working is that us humans, well, Teeks is essentially human, just slightly modified. So us humans with our normal eyes, we couldn't see any enemies outside of the torchlight. So we could see, like when I moved around, there was, like, circular indentations where, like, my character knew what the ground looked like over there, but couldn't see enemies. Which is especially dangerous because if I can't see them, I can't cast spells on them.
True.
So, yeah, everyone had to, like, stay close to Teeks, but Teeks didn't want to, like, be up front in combat.
Yeah.
So Fallon moved forward towards the edge of the light, readying his shield. Teeks casted haste on Kavo, which is a fun thing to do. It's not very fun to be on the receiving end of a hasted barbarian or fighter, but hasting them, very fun.
Nice. Get the whole. I think what I remember. I think back when the Chain of Acheron was running on Matt Koval's channel, they called it the chainsaw when they would do that to their fighter. This man would have eviscerated people. I think he had like a vorpal sword or something like that too. Something ludicrous. And I remember like at one point he chopped the head off somebody who probably should have chopped his head off, but it was glorious and it was awesome.
Well, I think Kavo's pickaxe is going to be at least as legendary as that.
Nice.
But Kavo was able to move outside of the range of the light and start fighting more of the undead. However, some of the zombies moved in and attacked the horse, which was...
Oh no, the horse! Not the horse!
Which was not something I thought would happen, but was terrible.
Did the horse have a name?
Oh gosh, you probably should give it one. I think we still... I don't know if we still... No, we still have it. I think we still have... No, I think we left it in town because we just walked to... Ooh. Well, I mean, it's fine. I guess it doesn't matter now.
True.
But yeah, the horse was getting attacked, which is really scary. But Kavo moved out of the light to fight the undead. And it was basically just like cartoon sound effects because we couldn't hear we couldn't see anything. but we could hear what was going on.
Lots of bonks and boofs and blams.
Pretty much.
And clattering pans.
A boing for some reason.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Bren punched a zombie and then moved up back to back with Fallum because they're bros. Teeks had to move up a bit more just to, like, give the rest of the party more, well, to give Fallum and Bren more light. And then did some zapping. Kavo, we found out, was surrounded.
Oh, shit.
But he landed a crit while raging for 61 damage.
Oh.
So,
damn. GG.
pretty effective on these zombies. Teeks was able to heal the horse as we dealt with the rest of the zombies. Fallum and Bren had a quick bro fist because they're bros. And then this was a moment where I was trying to decide, like, the next day what spells I needed. So she asked some questions about the undead threat in the area, and then we learned some more about the lore of the space. Especially considering some orc battles towards the south, creating a whole bunch of dead, and therefore a whole bunch of undead. So I was like, okay, let me just put Disrupt Undead on my list here real quick.
Nice.
So the next day, as Bren was yawning awake and Fallum was touching grass, Teeks went to take care of the horse to make sure it was okay. And then we had planned to hit, like, the main road that day. So we started traveling on. Kavo realized he doesn't need his torches, so he gave them away.
He's like, oh, wait a minute. I don't actually need these. Although it would be smart for Kavo to just have the torch on him so he can light it and drop where he is, because he can move, and so then there's just, like, multiple light sources everywhere.
That's a possibility, actually.
Because I think that you can see when there is a light source, like, in that spot. So, like, if Kavo can go towards the enemies holding the torch, why can't you just, use your range attacks for a Kavo standing that you can see? It's like, I mean, I don't know. I guess.
If Silrona was there, he could have suggested it.
I know, it's too much tactics. Silrona wasn't there. Although Silrona has the light spells, he could have just made Kavo's, like, pants a night bright or whatever. Light bright. And just, like, make his glowy pants be shining the way,
It is something we can use now. But yeah, as we were traveling on and connecting to the high road, we ran into a group of completely legitimate townsguard who said that there was a tax for road travel, a total of 5 gold.
Oh, okay. Are we swimming in it now? Like, I'm sure everyone just punched them out. Like,
well, pretty much. I mean, we all seemed rather skeptical about this. So Kavo went in with some intimidation, which scared a whole bunch of these guys. One of them was like, "Boss, I don't think this is worth it," and their boss was like, "Shut up, Larry," and they, which is not the smart thing to do. So Fallum tried to calm things. But with a fail on that check, it kind of seemed like the ball was about to get rolling. I mean, Teeks was fine either way. It seemed like if these guys weren't going to get our gold, they were going to try to, like, attack us still. So, Don't start none, won't be none.
True. I'm sure you guys finished it.
Rather aggressively.
Yes.
Let's just say that Kavo got another crit in that fight.
Oh no, not Larry.
One of the bandits did run off once things popped off, but we managed to take out most of them and then pretty much robbed the last one. I don't know if that's going to come back to bite us. I don't know if the bandits will decide they need to band together to fight us. I certainly hope not. It would be a terrible idea for them.
I mean, maybe if they brought like 50 dudes, like,
well,
really squatted up, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know. Maybe they'll just like convince like some local monster to be like, go eat these guys.
I mean, it'll be hard for them because we just robbed them, but sure.
You robbed one of them.
Ooh.
Vengeance. I declare vengeance for Larry.
Poor Larry. But yeah, Teeks did sort of shrug apologetically at Fallum because Fallum tried to like smooth things over before they all got out of hand, but obviously did not work. And then we got to Neverwinter. Kavo was able to purchase a potion that he was looking for, but wasn't able to find in Phandalin. We ran to Gavin the elf, who was, of course, as frantic as we had seen him before. But we were able to start discussing the delivery that we had come to drop off. He sort of handed us off to his halfling assistant, Stacy, I believe was her name, who came out to talk to us. We just did some discussion on the deal. Teeks is the one who signed for it, and I just made it canon that Teeks' handwriting is terrible because she's got webbed fingers. But after that, we headed to the docks to do some investigation into Fallum's crew, using some of that, like the produce and stuff that we used to hide the cart, as assistance for negotiation. We did get some stories, some vague rumors mostly, about some of them heading south some time ago. There weren't any stories about shipwrecks, which Fallum was looking into for some reason. And then there were some notes about like the schedule of boats coming into Neverwinter from the nearby Whalebone Islands. And we noted that there might be some coming in the next couple of weeks or so.
Ooh, Whalebone Islands. That sounds pretty cool.
Indeed. But this is like a Fallum thing, so I don't know the full detail of it other than that he's looking for his crew. But I'm very curious what's going on there. Or at least Teeks is. I think Teeks has been getting along with Fallum a bit more just because Fallum's a sailor and Teeks is like drawn to the water because of her own... I've talked about this before, right? Like Teeks' mother is a sea hag.
Yes, the infamous sea hags.
So yeah, Teeks is getting along with Fallum a bit more. So after everything, the party just went to rest and get a drink. They were deciding what to deal with next, eventually making plans to continue heading north to near Mount Hope now, where Bren's family is. Teeks wondered out loud if they should just try to rob people like the bandits did, because it seemed really effective for them.
Uh-oh. Is what happens when you turn into murder hobos.
Pretty much.
The players realize, like, wait a minute, I'm like the strongest thing from like miles.
But it was like a weird thing for Teeks to say. It was more her just like, what if we did that? Not like thinking it through. But Fallum, assuming that Teeks was feeling sick, and he rolled a medicine check, but like failed it, so he thought Teeks had like the super high fever. So he poured water on her.
Nice.
And then Teeks like shook her head to dry off and then used prestidigitation to clean the rest off. But Teeks would remember this. Teeks will remember that. So we were all deciding where to rest. Kavo took his tent to sleep outside of town for free. Bren was a bit cheap and just slept on the floor in a shared space. But Teeks and Fallum split a room. Totally nothing going on there. I don't know. There's no need to wiggle eyebrows, which some people were doing.
I definitely am wiggling my eyebrows right now.
It's not. Teeks was just... I mean, for one, they both wanted like a proper bed. And for two, Teeks had to set up her revenge. So the next day, the morning came, and Teeks woke Fallum with a splash from Create Water, which is like, probably a bit disproportionate because Fallum just poured like a mug of water on her, and then she splashed like 2 gallons of water on him.
Well, it depends if Fallum's like a container, right? We went over this the last time.
No, the water, Create Water comes from your hands. She's just splashing it out. She's not trying to contain it. It's just spouting out.
But like, so you have to, okay. Paizo, we need a patch real quick. We need to figure this out.
I'm pretty sure it was Create Water. I don't think it was the Spout spell. I think Spout's like no, Spout does damage. So yeah, it was Create Water.
I didn't even know there was a spout spell. Okay, cool.
It's just, yeah, it's like a spray of water, which I thought of doing, then I was like, no, I don't actually want to damage him, I just want to splash him with water. But Fallum was, of course, used to being woken up like this since he's a seasoned sailor, but Teeks was standing there with a smug grin anyway. Although she did later use prestidigitation on him after breakfast. And then, pretty much after that, we continued our journey to the forest area near Hotenow, where we managed to meet some of Bren's noticeably large family. Bren, who just, like, the moment we got there, we saw Bren's mother outside, and he just ran up to her instantly for a hug. Bren's mother also asked if Bren had minded his manners, and the party was all sort of like, eh. But as we headed inside, we also saw Bren's older sister and his father was very irritated at Bren, because it turns out that Bren's youngest sister was sort of inspired into wanting to be an adventurer and had wandered off, I suppose, to look for her own adventure of sorts, and Bren's two brothers had gone to look for her, and they had all been missing for a suspicious amount of time.
Oh no.
So Bren volunteered, and we volunteered as well. I mean, Bren volunteered, so we had to come too. Bren volunteered to go help find his sister and his brothers. And that was sort of where the session ended, so I assume next session is us going to be dealing with whatever the consequences of that are and what danger they are currently in.
Nice. I mean, I'm actually really excited for all these, like, background bits. Like,
yep.
I don't explain it, but it makes me very, very happy to be like, oh yes, we've done, like, the super serious, the town might explode thing, and now it's like, oh crap, my little sister's missing, I gotta go find her.
Hey, it could be serious, we don't know. There's probably some
That's
monster
true.
in the forest.
That's true. And it's like, let's go beat up some highwaymen. Oh god, there's zombies. Like, it just feels really nice to just be on the road again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love road tripping. Because I use it so much in my own campaigns, and it's just really fun to do. It's been really fun to do traveling.
Nice.
But I'm very curious about, like, Bren's family, and I can only really speak for Teeks, obviously, but Teeks is, like, super into this whole big family thing. Because for her, it was just her and her dad, because, again, her mom is a sea hag. So Teeks is like, wow, you have a big family, and they seem, well, your mom seems nice. So Teeks is just like, whatever this is, I want more of it.
Nice. That's cool, man. Because then, you know, I think I feel for Teeks for, I mean, Teeks probably has more family out there, but they're probably all weird sea hags.
Probably. They're probably some flavor of hag. Or some flavor of something. But yeah, I do wanna. I don't know when we're gonna play next, but I'm very excited to, like, just get back into, to be back into Teeks, who again was meant to be like a bit of a gremlin, but has turned into Team Mom.
That's like how all of your characters turn out to be.
Honestly,
it's just always like, and then I'm mom. This is my final form.
All my Pathfinder characters, certainly.
I mean, I can't speak too much for your mutants and mastermind characters. That's for sure. Although I think, like, I guess you can say your Lancer characters somehow actually turn out famous. It's just like whatever you want to do, it's like what the Lancer character is good at.
Yeah, I mean, that's what she was supposed to be too. Like, my Lancer character for our stream was, again, meant to be like this grungy sort of, I don't know, always covered in some sort of oil or substance from machinery, and always carry around scrap parts and fixing things. And now she's a streamer.
Yeah, she's just a straight gamer. Pog gamer, man. Like, but yeah, which is cool because that's like character development, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm excited for Silrona. I want to Silrona gets an episode and it's like the past haunts him. an old shadow rolls into town. Sorona has to deal. Like, and it's like Sorona's like cowboy dimension like alter. He's like his like, you know, maybe either Sharona was the sheriff or he's the bad guy, and the sheriff has come to take him down finally. And there's like a big magic shootout. Oh, it'd be so good. He like shows up with a posse. It's just like everyone's like pew pew blam blam, like magic. Like it'd be so dope. Yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully we're an effective posse.
Yeah, slowly, like I'm like codifying the lore that all wizards are actually cowboys in my campaign. Like I probably need to go pick up that Pathfinder book, the Guns and Gears.
Yeah.
So I can soak in some of that fun guns and stuff, and see if I want to add that. Or maybe there should just be like the wizards, like there's like a council of wizards or thing that they're just actually just cowboys, but instead of slinging like, you know, lead, they're slinging spells. Yeah, like they have like wand holsters, and they're like draw, right? Like
that would be cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it would be like cool like duels, right? Where it's like the magic duels. Instead of like you have a wizard duel, but also it's like a cowboy shootout at the same time. And there's like, oh, that'd be so sick. It'll change like the way I like the way that magic and stuff is kind of depicted like in fantasy, but I think it'll add like a fresh spin on it, because it's like if you could just fire off like a bunch of damaging spells in quick succession or something like that, like that's like pretty much like shooting a gun at the same time, right? Like I always think of them as like your spells is like ammunition anyway.
Yeah, technically true with your spell slots.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, maybe for the future. Who knows?
Indeed. Okay, what else can we cover?
Oh, well, Matt Koval actually just released a portion of his Flea Mortals, I think that's what it's called. It was like a Kickstarter for like a monster book that his company's been working on, and they've been like on the road to kind of revolutionize, I think, 5e monsters.
Ooh.
In all honesty, like because their whole design, I guess, is one, they're like bringing back 4e minions, and the other thing that they're doing is like, you know, bringing back a lot of 4e-ness into 5e. So it's like, yeah, there's like factions, right? So there's like he was talking about like the orc faction, how they were like, there's a bunch of stat blocks of like, oh, this is like a skirmisher orc, or this is like a you know, like a controller orc and stuff like that, but they're all flavored to be like orkiness, I guess, right? But yeah, that was like recently dropped, but I you know, it made me kind of wonder, like, you know, again, I'm never a person to use like stat blocks like the way that they're intended, so I think that like it'd be an interesting topic to go over, like a monster stat block, so like an enemy stat block of like why did someone put this together, and like how was it used to be intended, right? Because it's like, you know, if you're like a GM thumbing through the book and you're like, oh, I guess like I want them to fight a dragon, and you just pick the dragon, and like, is that dragon like generic, or is it trying to feed like that fantasy of like what like Paizo or D&D is trying to do for that dragon? And like, I think 9 times out of 10 it's just like really generic, I guess, because they kind of have to be like more like utilitarian. So it's like, you know, everybody can just be like, oh, this is what a base dragon, a fire dragon, or red dragon, or whatever it is.
Right.
It's like you can add more on top of that.
Well, at the same time, like they all have different. So the basics of like their claws and bites are usually the same, but they have different things that come out of their mouths. They have different like personalities, right? So I think that leaves that space for tying into certain environments in your campaign. Like for me, I know that my thing is kind of dragons, But they're
kind of big, scaly, reptilian, has some sort of elements of magic associated with it, but it's not a dragon. Dragons don't exist. No dragons.
Plenty of wyverns.
They're all dead. There's no true.
But no, like they're tied to different like areas specifically that are tied to different personalities. Yep.
I want to see like how people actually react to like an actual dragon showing up, because to me, like in a world where like no one's ever experienced like a dragon within like the age, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bunch of dragon-like things. It's like, would people even know that that's a dragon? And then what are they afraid of? Is it just like the bigger damage dice? Or like, are dragons like that mythical? Like, that's what I want to know when it actually happens in your world.
Oh, you like for me specifically?
Yeah, because like, you know, not everybody, like dragons could be common in somebody else's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Although you guys haven't seen a dragon at all in any of my campaigns.
Well, there was the one.
Which dragon?
The one that just destroyed all of Alinea.
Oh yeah, but sorry, I meant to say
the
stat blocked dragon.
Oh, okay.
This was definitely a cutscene dragon.
Okay.
To impress upon you why you put dragons in dungeons.
Fair enough. I mean, for me, especially that is one thing I have to deal with in our next session, because the party did encounter a dragon, which should be a pretty big deal, because again, they haven't been physically present. And they would be aware that it is a dragon because it looks very different from a wyvern. Well, not very different, but like it has more legs than a wyvern. They've encountered
shit. There's 4. Oh no.
1, 2, 3. Oh no. They've encountered like drakes and stuff before. They would notice like they would notice, and I think general populace would notice, hey, this thing is a lot bigger than the other types of things like this that we've seen before. It's also spraying way more of the thing that it sprays. So yeah, like in my campaign world, which again has not had dragons present for hundreds of years, despite the name of the campaign being Crown of Dragons. It's a very important plot point. It would be a very big deal, I think, because there wouldn't be much of a defense for that sort of thing, especially if they attacked a town. Like, because like I've had like kobold attacks before, and that's the sort of thing that you can maybe more prepare to deal with. You can have like guards outside the town, you can have like your walls up and things like that. But a dragon specifically, you need to prepare for like it flies, it attacks from overhead, it swoops down, that sort of thing. If you're in a world where that hasn't happened for a long enough time that people aren't ready for it, then it would be a pretty big deal when it happens in a populated area.
Shit, I would have dragons be like, since they've been so dead for so long, like the first instance, this dragon needs to be like a wizard, man. Like, cause like I think that's like kind of one of the biggest things is that dragons have the capacity to cast like spells.
Yes.
At least in Pathfinder, that's one of the differentiating features, other than it being a bigger, scaly lizard thing, right? With the right amount of appendages.
Yeah, there's also, I don't recall if this is a thing that they can all do, but I do like the idea of them like shape-shifting to just look like a normal person. I don't know if that's an inherent thing or like a spell they can sometimes do, but you know, homebrewing stuff is fine, so that can just be a thing that dragons are capable of.
I mean, there's always dragons walking among you guys.
Who
Man,
knows?
is that where they all went? They all polymorphed into humans, and it's just like chilling out in like the back corner.
Well, the first one they ran into,
oh my
did
god,
take a
is one of the
humanoid
horses? Is one of the horses the dragon?
The horses have all been dragons. That's what happened to them.
Yeah, that's why they're so powerful.
Yeah, the dragons all got turned into horses. That's why no one's seen them for so long.
Or maybe all the dragons are actually cows. And soon the revolution will happen. Well, no, that'd be kind of cool if there were like a bunch of dragons somewhere trying to like, they're like hiding like in plain sight, like, but there's like a limited amount of them, right? Like maybe there's like one real dragon. Well, no, you guys fought a dragon.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, they were dealing with like this dimension that was like, or dungeon rather, that was like shifting between multi-dimensional chaos. And at the end of it, they encountered this humanoid figure who was in the middle of his own thing and then turned into a dragon in an attempt to kill the party. And they were able to defeat him because they were able to sort of shift the scale of time in the room. So they made the dragon younger, so he was less powerful. But yeah, like, it is supposed to be a big deal. So, like, there's definitely some investigation that needs to go on with regards to what that dragon was actually doing there.
Yeah, for real. Because that's, like, the first dragon in, like, years, right? So.
Yes.
Cool.
It was also kind of like a hype moment for the fight, so once that wears off, then we have to deal with the consequences.
Sure. But yeah, no, dragons are cool. I think so. Like in like Dark Suns, I think that D&D, I guess setting. Yeah, it would be a setting. So like Dark Sun. It's kind of set in a world where it's like post-apocalyptic because there was like this age of like, you know, boundless nature and like water and stuff, and then it turned into land, and then apparently in that world like arcane magic is like the most evilest thing possible. and it like destroys the land. So like these like wizards or whatever, right, their whole goal or whatever is to like turn into a dragon through like this horrible rituals. And there's like, I think there was like this first dragon, I'm butchering the actual lore, but like he basically they like when they transform, they draw all the life out of like the planet. That's why like now the planet's like this barren desert wasteland. It wouldn't even like desert. I mean, there's like rivers of like silt that they use instead of water. Like it's like Arrakis times 12, dog. Like it's sandy and it sucks. But yeah, I just like the idea that dragons are like so powerful that like if they are like present, like shit's fucked up.
Yes.
Right? Like something is obviously wrong. I akin to them to be like if the mortal realm had like the material plane had like demons, it would be like a dragon, right? Something that's so naturally powerful, right? That's so like jacked up that like it can like fuck with the surroundings, and needs like, you know, a hell of a lot of effort and energy to like keep at bay and or even slay, right? Like,
yeah,
that's to me. Yeah.
I'm definitely taking some potential inspiration, like just because I want them to feel like powerful. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to reveal too much, but I do want them to feel like a powerful entity, like a big deal. Something that's stuck with me from actual play stuff is the Chroma Conclave arc, I guess, from Critical Role, and just the introduction of those dragons, which, again, I don't know if I should say too much about because that's probably going to be the start of what Season 2 of their animated show is. But just when they showed up, it was such a massive shift in the campaign direction because of all the things that they pretty much... I mean, you know what happened with Alinea, like how you had a whole dragon come in and just wreck the whole town.
Yeah.
Pretty much that.
I'm sure that happened everywhere. They're like, everything was all jacked up because the dragon showed up, right? Like that kind of level of like, you know, the right to be mythical, in my opinion, right?
Exactly. Like I want to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, like if you're like when you guys do end up going back to Alinea and dealing with Smitharax, right? Good luck.
Yeah.
Because out of all the fights, I probably won't. Like, I don't typically pull my punches. Like, most of you guys are like really jacked up anyway, so like I don't really, you know. But it's like I think I'm gonna go for the throat in that one, man. Because it's like, listen, Smitharax doesn't play around. Like, he's not in it for you know. He wants to put bodies in the ground, right? And that's what he likes to do.
Indeed, he will. That's just his thing. That's what he does. But yeah, like I don't know. I don't want to say too much about what the future for my campaign is because I don't want to reveal too much. It's just that I want to make sure if a dragon shows up, it's a big old deal wherever it is, whatever it does.
Nice. Well, hey folks, if you want to talk about dragons or want us to talk more about our opinions about them, you can let us know in the comments, I guess. Yeah, that was kind of a cool tangent. I like to get people's, experiences of like what like this like stat block means to you.
Yeah.
Like, how could you use it? What does it actually mean to you in your context of like, your world and stuff like that? So it'd be cool to hear what dragons mean to you guys in the comments. Yeah,
the translation of numbers to actual story, of abilities to personality, like that's really interesting. So if you have any cool stories about that, be sure to drop a comment about them.
Yeah, for sure.
As well as anything else you want to ask us about, or you want us to comment on, especially Lancer, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Mutants and Masterminds, that kind of thing. Those are obviously the games you kind of talk about the most, so definitely want to put those in our circle of discussion. As well as we roll into the outro, be sure to check out the links that we have in the description below to all the cool people we've talked to on the podcast, as well as our friends over on the Untold Stories Project channel, where I'm at every week, or most weeks, in their Mutants and Masterminds game. They're taking a break because of GenCon, just because some of them are a bit exhausted after the convention. But there's some fun stuff going on there. Definitely check out the Green Ronin stuff. They just started a new Kickstarter to publish some of their books in physical form, or republish rather. So if you missed your opportunity to pick up some of those books in physical form, you now will have another chance to do so. And for USP, they've got a bunch of stuff going on. I know they're playing something new in the next couple of weeks. And then, towards the end of the month, we're going to be talking about the new show that's starting over there. And I'm very excited for it. I don't want to spoil too much about it. I'm pretty sure I've already talked about it before. But I have been watching a lot of Sailor Moon in preparation, so I'm very excited for that show.
I'm super stoked. I'm pretty excited that Sailor Jupiter is your favorite, because Sailor Jupiter is also my favorite. That lady kicks so much butt.
She's so cool.
She is way too cool.
She's so tough. So a bit behind the scenes, when I posted my character description of what I was gonna make for that game, one of my friends in USP, they mentioned, so it's a bit Sailor Jupiter, eh? And at the time I hadn't seen the show, so I was like, I don't know, but probably. And then I watched the show and I was like, you were 100% dead on. I hadn't even seen the show and I was like, oh, this is who I've made.
This is who I was always meant to be.
Like some slight differences, but like personality wise, it was the kind of thing I was going for. I was like, I don't know how you got it so correct, but you are 100% right.
Yeah, man, Sailor Jupiter's got a lot of big guy energy in it, and I love it. Like,
yeah,
I love every minute of it.
Yeah, I haven't got to play like just like a super strong person in Mutants and Masterminds in a while. If I have recently, I can't remember it. So I'm gonna have fun with that. But yeah, definitely go check out Untold Stories Project. They are a fun bunch of people. I'm very excited to be on there 2 nights a week now. As well, of course, as our gaming streams. We're getting back into a regular schedule, so it's going to be Batman on Thursday, Skyrim on Friday, and then Sci-Fi Sundays, which currently are Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds is back, and I'm starting the Murder on Eridanos DLC. And it was very interesting so far. You know, I love a good mystery, and I'm very wrapped up in this one. So definitely go check out me gushing over someone and then realizing they're the murder victim. So I'm very motivated.
Calvin getting sucked into the plot already.
I didn't know, because I didn't know anything about it because I haven't looked into it for so long. So I was like, oh, this person's cool. And then it's like, they're dead. Who did this? So yeah, go check out my terrible Horatio Kane from CSI Miami impressions as well. But I think that's it for this episode. Ramon, anything else you want to leave the audience with before we head off?
No, let's Let's send them off.
All right, well, everybody out there, all our players and GMs and everything in between, just remember to keep on winning with dice, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.